It is no secret that Fever fans want Satou Sabally, the unicorn, over in Indiana this free agency. So what will it take to make that happen? Let's dive in. I am so excited to get back to basketball talk as 2025 free agency is gearing up and Unrivaled starting. And the hot topic of free agency is, where will Satou Sabally end up? She is like the ultimate Swiss Army knife. You need scoring? She's got you. You need defense? Say less. She can shoot from three, she can push in transition, she can get into the paint and knock down a fadeaway, and she is in the prime of her career. So she is sought after. And after the 2024 season ended, she did take to social media, letting people know that she was very excited to explore her free agency.
It's a lot of movement for me this offseason. The decision of moving with a potentially different shoe brand, but also the decision to change teams. Yeah, so I'll be a free agent this year, and oh my god, I feel like this is just super exciting. So yeah, LA girl right now.
And not only that, but she was spotted on social media liking posts about her going to the Fever. But that was before they got the #1 pick in the draft, which the Dallas Wings will most certainly draft Paige Bueckers. And with Paige Bueckers going over to the Dallas Wings, that changes things a little. Will Satou stay? But this is kind of like a puzzle with other extenuating circumstances. And as an unrestricted free agent, Satou Sabally this season is eligible to be cored, which Dallas will most likely do. And if you don't know what coring is, it's basically the same as an NFL franchise tag, where a team can core one unrestricted free agent on their team a year. But then the team has to offer you the Supermax contract, which is about $250,000 next season. It's kind of like being handcuffed to the team, but in a sparkly, fun, here's your bag kind of way. And if a team designates you as too important to leave that team, they will definitely core you. But if a player does want to leave, they will organize some sort of like sign and trade deal, generally speaking. And the reason that it is a rule in the WNBA is to prevent multiple amazing unrestricted free agents in that season from getting together and basically creating like the Avengers of the WNBA, aka a super team. I'm not totally sure how I feel about it because it does severely restrict what a free agent can do, and it takes their free agency status basically away. But in any case, Satou Sabally will be cored by the Dallas Wings. A big thing to consider in free agency is a team's cap space. And this season, the Indiana Fever have about $657,000 in cap space to spend, which is a pretty good chunk of change. But the Fever are serious about being contenders. If not this year, maybe the next year. Like, if you were to ask me if I thought the Fever would be contenders next year, even if they got Satou Sabally, I would say that the Lynx are way too hungry to overturn that foul call where they lost in the finals for last season. And the New York Liberty is just so good. They're just too good. They're the best they've ever been. So even if the Indiana Fever did have the perfect offseason with free trades and the draft, I'd say that they have their work cut out for them. But let's get back to the team's cap space. So in 2025, each team will have about $1.5 million that they can spend for all of their players. And like I already mentioned, the Indiana Fever have $657,000 to play around with. But they do need to add some people. They need to deepen their bench, find a backup point guard. They need a big, like a power forward. And they do need that one piece that could make them a possible contending team. So let's take a look at their roster. They have 9 players, so we'll need to fill 3 spots. And it's no secret that the GM, the front office, their #1 priority is re-signing Kelsey Mitchell. Now, Kelsey Mitchell also is eligible to be cored, and they are most likely going to do that at the $250,000 salary max. So let's just automatically take $250,000 away from the $657,000. So that leaves us with $407,000 to play with. So you automatically think, oh, $407,000, we can totally get Satou. It's not that easy. The Dallas Wings know how bad Indiana wants Satou, so they have leverage. So what would it take? Well, Satou would have to agree to a sign-in trade to Indiana, and if she did agree to that, they could get her for $214,000, leaving Indiana with an extra $35K to play with. But there is no way on God's green earth that Dallas will just straight up trade Satou to Indiana. So Indiana have 2 first-round draft picks, number 8 and number 20. And Indiana being a young team, I don't think this year they really need those draft picks. So I can see Indiana using them as trade assets. And I can see Dallas wanting that number 8 first round draft pick. And another person that I also see being used as a trade asset is NaLyssa Smith. It's been pretty contentious with her and the Indiana Fever fans. Dejanay Carrington, her partner who plays on the Connecticut Sun, has been very vocal and kind of anti-Fever fan. There have been a few other contentious incidences involving Dejanay Carrington that I really just don't want to get into here, but let's just say that it hasn't really made the chemistry between NaLyssa Smith and the Indiana Fever fans smooth. The chemistry that NaLyssa has with her team is a totally different thing. There doesn't seem to be any bad blood between NaLyssa and her teammates at all, but NaLyssa's speed isn't exactly what the new Caitlin Clark style of playing, that fast run and gun, is. She has like a really slow release. She isn't the best at defense, and as a power forward, you want a good defender. So I can see Indiana throwing in a number 1 draft pick for 2025, NaLyssa Smith, and potentially, I actually heard someone else say this and I thought it was a good idea, but potentially Grace Berger. And the reason Grace Berger is because she's actually been playing pretty well over in Europe, and she's cheap and she's young, so she can be developed, and she's on a 2-year contract at $170,000. But like I said, Dallas has leverage with how much Indiana wants Satou. So what else could they throw in? Because I don't think adding a 4th player to this trade is advantageous for Dallas, because I think that would be just too many players on their roster. So I could see them asking for a first-round draft pick for another year. So in a perfect world, this trade goes through. So that would give Indiana, let's add in the $92K that they'd gain losing NaLyssa Smith, and let's add the almost $80K that they would gain losing Grace Berger, and they're at $579K. But let's subtract the $214K that Satou Sabally would cost, and we're at around $365, $366K. But with adding Satou Sabally in and losing 2 players, that would mean 3 roster spots need to be filled. And a lot of analysts and content creators are talking about Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard has let it be known that she does not want to be returning to Dallas, and she is really good. She is just not as good as she used to be. Now, saying that, she was all defensive team in 2018 and 2019, so she's got the defense, or had it. She was all WNBA in 2019, and she was the Defensive Player of the Year in 2019 and Most Improved Player in 2018. But again, that was like, 6 years ago? God, my math is so bad. But she is a vet, and that could potentially be advantageous for such a young team. I just don't know. She's a little bit better than NaLyssa Smith maybe, but definitely defensively better. Yeah, I really don't know if Indiana's willing to take that $214K salary. But another option for Indiana is Janelle Salon, who is a free agent but plays over in Europe. She is also a little bit better than NaLyssa Smith right now, but she is 23. She is not a rookie, and so she has development time while already being starter ready. She's listed at 6'4". She is a power forward, but versatile. She can run up the court. She can shoot threes. And she was just spotted on December 27th in Washington, D.C. So I don't know if she's here potentially meeting with teams, because I'm sure a lot of teams would be interested in her. She would be great on the Sky. She would be a great complement to Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese. She would be great for the Dream. She would be great for the Valkyries. Now, I don't know how much she would actually cost, but she would not be as much as Natasha Howard. who would be 214,000. But let's hypothetically say that the Indiana Fever do go with Natasha Howard, and we have to take away 214K from that 365K we have. We have 151K to deepen the bench. And if you are a contending team, which Indiana looks like they want to be, it is not common for the contending teams to be playing their rookies consistently. Now, Leonie Fibich, she didn't start out playing for New York consistently. She, and this is being one of the best, maybe the second best rookie of last season. But other teams like the Washington Mystics, you know, the lower tiered teams, they will play their rookies consistently. But again, it doesn't seem like Indiana wants to be that tier of a team. They're going to want to deepen their bench with someone on a higher pay scale. So if you want a vet, that's 78,000. And if you subtract the 78 from the 151 that we have to play with, you get 73,000. So maybe you can get a vet, and maybe you can develop that 20th pick that you get, which I don't know. I don't know that I'd bank on that. But this would be something that Indiana can play with. But if they went with Janelle Salon, who would not be 214K, instead of Natasha Howard, then I think this would open up a lot more avenues. I hope your brains aren't broken at this point. I know that mine kind of is, as I'm not the best with math. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because this could go a million different ways. And again, I am new to YouTube, as I am crossing over from TikTok. So happy to be doing this. I've been so pleasantly surprised with how much nicer the comments are here, and how the dialogue just feels a lot more mature. So if you did enjoy the video, go ahead and like, subscribe if you want. It really does help this algorithm here, and I'll see you soon.